because it's never all hearts and rainbows and butterflies and roses and great, awesome happiness all the time. Like life be lifing. Like life is real, and you have to know when the bottom's falling out, and it's seriously like rough. Are they capable of getting you to a better place, or my brain's buffering now?
Yeah, that's fine. So one thing to look at is when a passenger is doing these things in the testing process, they test the character, one, but they also see how he reacts to these things. Because if the passenger is flaky or disrespectful and the guy just accepts that, that tells you something about their character. And if they overreact instead of just checking you politely,
Yeah,
there's different ways you can look at that. And I think that it's important for men of character and captains in general to look at these kinds of bad behavior like dishonesty or incompetence or impulsiveness and to put it in the proper perspective and to not allow that behavior, because what you allow at the beginning is likely to be that which rules you later on in the relationship.
I do love it when, we're out in the wild and like another couple, they're kicking off at each other and they're like, "Nah, nah, nah," and you just go, "Are you going to put up with that?"
Yeah, I tell the guy.
Just like completely like unsettled by that. They're like, "What?"
Oh, that was hilarious. That
Oh my
reminds me
gosh.
of when we came back from our last cruise at the airport. And this lady was just wilding on her husband. And he walked off and had a smoke. And when he came back, I'm like, "Hey, bud, what's the deal?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, "Dude, she's not treating you well. What's the deal with that? Do you go ahead and pay the bills? Do you take care of the lifestyle?" And he's like, "Yeah, I pay all the bills. I do everything." And I'm like, "Why are you putting up with that disrespect in public?" And he's like, "I never thought of that." And it was really interesting to see the way that they interacted with each other. And like, obviously, you're not going to see night and day differences over time, but it's really important to know, hey, if you're the captain, you have authority over everybody on your ship, because when things go wrong, you need to be able to call the shots.
Because you're the one who's ultimately accountable.
Yeah, because your ability, every right comes with responsibility. Every privilege comes with corresponding responsibility. And the responsibility associated with authority is accountability. They're going to go ahead and take a look to you for answers on what went wrong. And you need to be ready for an answer. And that's okay. It's the mantle of responsibility that leaders take on day in and day out. And it's important that we do those things.
So it's like, however you structure, your family, your relationships, all of that, if you're the one who's calling the shots, you are also the one who needs to account for when things mess up.
Right.
And they will.
They will, inevitably. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship, no such thing as a perfect life. There's always going to be some unknowns that come up. And the question is, how is your character when you're in the refining fire? Right. Now, that's not to say that testing is universally a bad thing. I think a lot of times it's important for the testing to happen so that the passenger can be comfortable with your leadership. Right? Is if you gently check them and let them know, hey, you're off base here. If they are the kind that are looking for a strong captain to lead them, that is a positive thing to them, even if they get in their feelings in the moment.
Yeah. And part of that, being a pastor who won't cause difficulty again is you're not, and part of the whole submission thing is not that you never get a voice. You never get to speak up, or else you're not being submissive. It is, if you have these kinds of concerns or whatever that you need to bring up, that you come correct.
Right.
And then part of the responsibility of being in authority and being in leadership as the captain is you need to hear them.
Sure.
And that is part of the mandate, even, biblically, men love your wives. Part of that is hearing them, because again, the deep-seated need of a woman is to be known and to know, people with whom she shares relationships. So part of that being known is being heard,
Mhm.
because you can't, unless you actually take the time to listen to somebody, you won't know them.
Mhm.
So it's not that you don't get a voice and you get steamrolled all the time. You always have to like that. No, that's abuse. That's abuse. And but even if things do not go your way, you need to defer. Like, but at least beyond the shadow of a doubt that you have been heard. And I actually shared this in like a book club with a bunch of ladies last night. About you know that a lot of the decisions that you make are big picture ones that are the things that navigate the trajectory of our lives together.
Right.
But you don't see things that I see as, boots on the ground in the trenches of parenting, every day with all the doctor's appointments, the groceries and the meal planning and all this stuff like that. I have that. And so I can bring you the pain points that I'm experiencing. And then in any, large scale decision, I tell you the concerns that are from my day to day, detailed perspective. And you can hear that. And even if you still decide that you need to proceed the way that you already had the idea, I know that I've been heard and my perspective has been considered.
Sure.
And that there is everything.
Right. And I have the responsibility of determining, to what degree I bend my ear to that and all of that.
Mhm.
And one thing is to have the responsibility of taking the feedback and taking the input and seeing when applicable to incorporate that into the plan
Mhm.
so that those concerns are taken care of along the way.
Especially because like not everything has to be I need this thing, and saying the answer is either yes or no.
It's often a different shades of gray.
Yeah, there's also okay, we can work that in a reasonable amount of time. Or yes, but I need you to wait a minute because I have all this stuff going on. Because one, talking about me being heard from all the nitty-gritty stuff, you don't know everything I'm experiencing day to day, but also I don't know what you have going on
Mhm.
for the betterment of our entire family. And, our kids and even our kids going forward. Like that is what I am co-laboring, working with you toward. And part of that is making sure that I'm staying in my lane and not trying to like
Steer the ship.
yeah,
Right.
no mutinies allowed.
Right. And so even though submission is kind of like a dirty word in our society, I think that another way to express the same idea that'd be a little bit easier for people to take is the idea of willful cooperation. Right.
Yeah.
And even better is enthusiastic cooperation.
Yeah.
Right. There are different levels to this thing.
Not just like when you're a kid, you're like, you need to do this thing. You need to put on your socks and shoes so we can go. And there's like, I don't want to, I'm playing my video games. Like we need to go now. And it's like, okay, fine. That's not enthusiastic. That's not.
And it's not
willing.
even willing or willful cooperation, right? That's begrudging cooperation, right?
It's dragging, kicking, and screaming.
Well, I mean, the same thing is in the bedroom, right? Is like there's a difference between the starfish situation and like the backflips and cartwheels and all the things, right? There are different levels to this thing. And willful cooperation and enthusiastic cooperation is just these levels of submission in the context of a loving relationship.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes even, in that arena, that like sometimes with, chronic issues and kids and, kids that never leave the house because I home educate, there are limits to my bandwidth quite often. And for the most part, I at least, I make it my focus never to give you like the leftovers of my energy.
Right.
There is always like this thought of having a reserve that is saved for you because ultimately it has to happen at the end of the day.
Sure. It's just a matter of
We're not
life.
morning people. Let's not get it twisted. But like there is always that holding what do people call holding space? Like I'm holding space for you.
Mhm.
So you don't get the leftovers of my energy, my patience, my, my I don't know what. But that so that I am that willing cooperative participant.
Sure. I mean, and it helps when we're good at what we do, right?
Right.
Right. It's
Right.
just, it makes it easy to hold that space and to
Yeah.
save the spoons because we know we're going to have a great time.
Yeah. That's actually awesome that, we get that nice end to the day to be together.
Sure.
And that is honestly the meat and potatoes of what has kept us going
Sure.
together in unison.
And oftentimes it's the glue of a relationship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I try to have as little headaches as possible.
Yeah. And that's definitely appreciated, right? But that's all part of the whole submission or willful or enthusiastic cooperation. So, but the idea is that testing in and of itself should be taken as an indicator of high interest. If she's trying to go ahead and test you, it's because she's interested. Or she's just that kind of person. And if she is just that kind of person, you might want to just steer clear of that. You're like, yeah, I'm going to refuse service to this customer.
So by the gangplank, there's a little sign that says we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, shoot, if you go into building an amazing boat and you are, a master of your craft, why in the world would you deal with that? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And just like if you don't know what you're about and you sign up with this person who, you're like, oh yeah, I'm on board with this. But then you figure out this is not what it was. Well, if you would have done some research ahead of time rather than just leading with your, your all your
Feelings?
and your the doe eyes and stuff, like, yeah, that's well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions.
How about that?
How about that?
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. If you'd like to see more from this podcast, you can go ahead and click here, where the podcast episode is linked in its entirety. If you're new here, you might want to consider subscribing right here. Thanks so much. Make it a great day.